Hey everybody, it's record time with Chris, episode number 47, which is mostly actually footage that didn't make it into episode 46. More about that later. Posting this on December 24th, and that's kind of a weird day. You know, I think you can feel alone on the 24th, and even if you're not alone, you could feel alone in the midst of a ton of people. So I don't know, maybe you could go, listen to a record or something. Maybe that'll make you feel connected to something either. I didn't have time to edit all of the stuff that I shot for episode 46 on the day that I wanted to get it out. So this is the stuff that would have been the second half of that episode. But it's really good because it gave me a chance to really listen more to this Beverly Copeland album. I could tell in my initial review of it, like I could tell it was like a really deep record, and the kind of thing you have to let it draw you in and just focus on. So I took it home the whole bit, put the phone aside in another area out of reach, put the record on, and just let it take me. And at some point I read the liner notes, which are on the back, and in both English and French, and I'll just read them to you. Beverly Copeland, who performed formerly as Beverly Glenn, began her folk singing and songwriting career 2 years ago as a singer, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, oh shit, Beverly Glenn, this is Beverly Glenn-Copeland. So, and this is actually the third of his albums that have been reissued this year. And like he was, I think, just on tour in England, Europe in November. It's on his Facebook page and his website if you want to see the details. So, yeah, so this is really cool because it's like an artist who's like getting more, getting out there more. There's a 80s album of like electronic music, and then one from around 1970 that's actual jazz. So this is kind of leading up to that jazz record, and this is, what a great thing. I'm definitely going to have to track down those other two albums myself. I mean, I think we have them in stock, but they'll be weird because they could be filed. They'll definitely be filed under G because it's Glenn-Copeland, but the electronic one might be an electronic. The other one's jazz, so they might be in two different parts of the store. Depends on how the data feeds come in, and people probably gonna stock this under C for Copeland because it doesn't. So anyway, this one artist, probably records in three different places, but wow, really good, really just a great album. Eugene McDaniels-Headless, Heroes of the Apocalypse. It was just reissued by Music on Vinyl, and considering how beloved this album is, I'm surprised, but good for you that this should be still pretty easy to find. It is from 1971, and it is that it is that like political jazz with a heavy funk.
The Lord is black, his mood is in the rain. The people have called, he's come in to make corrections. You can hear his voice blowing in the wind. Yeah. Say you can feel the power.
Great bass, great drums. It's probably been sampled a gazillion times. 180 gram vinyl also. Now there's a new label from Canada that is dragging up some really cool stuff out of the CBC archives. And these are records that were never commercially available despite being really cool and recorded in the 60s. So these have that, so they have that, each of them has like that unique vision that you get like on really good private press records where there's not much like record company interference. But what's nice is the CBC recorded these, so the production they're well recorded, and there's like good overdubs and strings and whatever. Definitely nice sounding stuff. So anyway, the label is Majik Bus, like the Who song, but it's MAJIK Bus. They've released 2 sets of 3. I know there's another batch coming out soon. Can't talk about it yet because, well, I don't know anything about it. So let's talk about what these records actually are. Well, so they were recorded by the CBC, pressed onto vinyl, and then sent out to their radio stations for, I don't know, airplay or backing music, I don't know what. But they were never released to the public. So just if you like to collect production library records, these are super rare like that. So I'm just going to go through them. Perth County Conspiracy. This is like a folk rock record, and you can see a lot of them. A bunch of these have the same logo here, the CBC Transcription Radio Canada. So folk rock. There's it seems like Hurdy Gurdy Man. The cover of the Donovan song is the one that people kind of gravitating to.
Like a star in my fast sleep, I open my eyes to take a peek, to find that I'm beside the sea, gazing with tranquility. Then come the hurdy-gurdy man, come singing songs of love. Then come the hurdy-gurdy man, come singing songs. Then come the hurdy-gurdy man.
Somebody who I work with pointed out that this is like a super awesome cover. I don't know if it's like a poster you want to get and frame it or something, but I don't know what. I love the image too. She's so right, like with the globe and everything. So Barbara Grif, the album is called "What the World Needs Now," and it's it's like a sunshine pop record. Like this, it says Dominion. It looks kind of like an RCA logo, except it says, record, but it says Dominion.
What do you get when you fall in love? A guy with a pin to boost your bubble. That's what you get for all your trouble. I'll never fall in love again. I'll never fall in love again.
Late 60s stuff that people would have known, like she takes If I Were a Rich Man from Fiddler on the Roof and turns it into If I Were a Rich Girl. And there's even a song she sings in Hebrew, the second song that she sings in Hebrew. This says Canada, and you can tell the totally generic cover. This could be anything, right? Well, and you've got a kind of generic back. Most of these have real plain backs, actually. The Perth County Conspiracy is like the only one I saw with like stuff on the back. This is jazz, and Emile Normand, or Normand, probably. Oh, I should mention a lot of these have text in both English and French. He's a vibes player, and so there's a lot of that. Some of it's kind of like cocktaily a little bit, or would be very easy on people's ears. But then at the end of side 1, they do a Yusef Lateef. No, I'm sorry. They do. That's the first track. They do one of his, but Sorcery, which is by Keith Jarrett. 3 of them, and I only have 2 of them, have this like picture of the artist with a black and white picture of the artist with a white background. So Beverly Copeland, she wrote all this material except for some of the lyrics. Like, she's got a deep voice, powerful voice like Odetta. I can't really think of anybody that I've heard whose music sounds exactly like this. She's I mean, this is one of those cool things. You know, this is just like totally her vision, and it works.
I have sailed the deep rivers, paid full passage around through the springs and the summers, and with snow blowing down through the aching and the breaking.
Judy Singh, this is more sort of like, you know, late 60s pop. Sometimes gets a little sunshiny. There's a lot of ballads on here, and yeah, it's that same thing too. The one I don't have to show you is by Stephanie Taylor. I'll just show you how the backs on these look plain. Stephanie Taylor, and it's called I Don't Know Where I Stand, and that's a little more of a folky thing, I think. Actually, what I find really interesting about it is that 3 of the songs on that are the same Joni Mitchell and Leonard Cohen songs that Fairport Convention covered on their first album.
Won't you stay? We put on the day. There's a sun show every second. Now the curtain opens on a portrait of today, and the streets are paved with passers-by, and pigeons fly and papers lie, waiting to blow away.
You know, another series of stuff that recently came out that I think would appeal to you if you like the kind of off the beaten path type of stuff. So Be With Records just reissued a series of library records. And if you don't know what library records are, briefly, these are things that were recorded for like production libraries. So you know, radio stations would just have a ton of them, and like, if you know, for backgrounds for ads, but they were also being used for sync. You know, people would license them for things like TV shows or, you know, movies even. KPM is one of the labels that was people still consider to be highly collectible. So anyway, Be With just reissued a whole bunch of KPM titles. This one, Themes, is called Themes is just like, you know, the name for that particular series, The Sound of Soul. And these are a bunch of instrumental soul tracks. There's also one called The Voice of Soul, which is the same exact tracks with vocals over the top of them. I was disappointed that I bought this one instead of that one, but then this kind of, actually it's pretty cool to have the non-vocal versions. It's sort of like be a good background for like a groovy party if you were going to have one. And what's cool about the back, if you've never seen one of these kinds of records, is it actually tells you like what the music sounds like, so you get a sense of like what you might use it for if you were you know, producing a TV show, and you were like, yeah, easy moving, relaxed background, you know, a relaxed rhythmic background with implied movement. So you could even like, and in fact on here it actually tells you that what you can do is take these and splice them together with the vocal versions if you want to control when it's instrumental and when it's when the singing comes in, you know, like I don't know. It's pretty cool. So anyway, there's a bunch of them that just came out through them. Some of them, in fact, some of them were used in TV programs that you may have seen if you've watched a lot of TV in the 70s. But it's a cool series. Keep your eye out for that.
I know some of you are probably looking over my shoulder and wondering about this because you know what it is because it was announced about a month ago. Well,
I'll be doing a real review of it closer to its release date next year. But I will tell you that it is fucking awesome. And if you ordered it, holy shit, you're going to love it. So, there we have it. Definitely the last one of these for the year. And so I hope until, you know, I see you next, or you see me next, that you are listening to something awesome. And looking forward to, personally, I'm looking forward to like a ton of really great records in 2019. So let's just keep our ears open and we'll find out about them.